Hi, I'm Mike, and today I would like to give you kind of a walkthrough of how to get VirtualBox running in Linux and how to get it installed and my usual settings for setting up a virtual machine, for trying out different distros here and there. And this is going to entail things that you would need to do in the BIOS or UEFI, and how to install VirtualBox on Ubuntu, how to install the extension pack, and how to add yourself to the vbox users group. And once all that's done, you can use VirtualBox with my settings, and everything should work out just fine. So without much further ado, let's get started. Alright, well, this is VirtualBox already. I've got it installed. So, and I've got Bunsen Labs running right now. So, let me just power off the machine real quick. So, VirtualBox is installed, but if it's not installed on your system, you may want to know, well, you're going to want to know if your hardware supports virtualization. For Intel-based systems, that's going to be VT. That's going to be in your BIOS or UEFI. You can boot into that and see, by pressing F2 or delete while you're booting, and it'll take you to your UEFI. It may be a different key. Each motherboard is different. I have an Asus board, so F2 or delete will take me there. Just kind of dig through the settings, and you can find VT-D, VT-X, something along those lines, and you can enable that, or enable virtualization. So you save those settings, boot back in, boot back into your system, and you can install VirtualBox 64-bit editions on everything, because without that you may, if you can't use it at all, if you can use it, you'd be limited to just 32-bit. And 32-bit's kind of going by the wayside now, so that's just something to kind of look out for. So, to get VirtualBox installed, let's make this full screen. You can do it through the terminal, or through Synaptic, or through your regular package manager. I just do it through the terminal because it's easy. So, sudo apt install VirtualBox. And for the extension pack, if you're running Ubuntu, this is running on 18.04. The extension pack is in the repository. So I have some notes put up to the side so I don't mess anything up. So now you can type VirtualBox and VirtualBox-ext-pack. And if you don't want to hit Y enter, whatever, just let it run. Hit -YY, hit enter, and it'll install. I've already got it installed, so I don't need to run that. But after it installs, it's going to be added to it's going to be installed in the system, but your user is not a vbox user as far as in that group. So you can, if you have sudo privileges, of course, you can type this command and become part of the group for vbox users. And I have this actually automated in my script. So what you can type here is sudo usermod -a capital G vbox users followed by your username. So up here you can see that my username is Time Lord and my computer's name is Policebox. The computer name doesn't matter, but if I just wanted to add that, I just type Time Lord. But for purposes of my script, I did this because that will actually that'll just put in the user that's logged in right now, and that would create that user as part of the group. Just to prove that works, I'm just going to echo it out. There you go. So once you run that command, you're now ready to go. You may want to reboot just to make sure all the settings have taken and everything's, and you know your USB is going to work and all that kind of stuff. So let's say you make a Windows VM and you want to create another bootable Windows flash drive or something. You can do that through a VM, but you're going to need that extension pack installed and be in the vbox users group. So just kind of wanted to get that out there. So I'm just going to walk through my general settings now of a new virtual machine. So I hit new, and let's do Arch Labs. That's one I downloaded a couple days ago. I haven't installed it yet, so let's just go through my general settings. On my VMs, I give it 4 gigs. And when you type in Arch Labs, it automatically knows it's Linux and it's Arch Linux. So, but if you type, let's say if I were making it Bunsen Labs, it doesn't know what it is. So you can pick Linux and then go through this list and pick which distro it is. So Bunsen Labs is Debian, so that's what I would choose. But I'm going to make one for Arch Labs. Alright, and we're going to give it 4 gigs. Alright, we're going to hit create. File locations, Arch Labs. You can choose the location if you have a different drive in your computer that you just want to. If you have limited space on your root partition or in your home folder or what have you, you can. If you have a different drive you want to put your virtual machines in, by all means do that. You can just hit that little box and pick where you want it to go. Let's say you want it to go here, or in the 400 gig volume, or wherever. So I'm going to hit cancel here because that's fine. And you can choose how much storage you're going to give it. If you just click the line, see it's giving you 8 gigs now. If you click the line, it's going to double it to 16. You click the line again, it's going to double it again. I generally give it anywhere between 16, 20, and 32 gigs, just depending on what I'm wanting to do with it, how much software is going to be installed, that kind of thing. So if I'm installing something like Arco, that has a lot of software installed with it. I generally want to give it at least 20, just to be on the safe side. Most time I will do 32 for something like that, just in case. Well, for older stuff, I would want to do 32 because it would create a bigger swap partition. So anyway, so give it 32 gigs. VDI is generally what I use. I mean, you can use a virtual hard disk or what have you, but I generally just stick with VDI. It works well. I haven't had any issues. Dynamically allocated is what I generally use too. That way, it doesn't just take up all 32 gigs at once. It will use what it needs, and it can grow to 32 gigs. Whereas if you click fixed size, it's going to take up all 32 gigs, no more, no less. So that's why I generally just stick with dynamically allocated and just let it grow up to that. So now once you got all that done, hit create. Now you would think you'd be able to boot into that already, but all we've done is just set the parameters for the machine itself. We haven't hooked an ISO up to it or what you've downloaded up to it. So once you've got this selected, go to settings, system, or you got general here, of course. Where you can enable disk encryption, where your snapshots you want them to go. But I generally just go straight to system. I generally leave this stuff alone here. Go to processor. You can give it up to half as many cores as what your computer has, or half as many threads as your computer has. So I have, my processor is an Intel 5820K. It is a 6-core 12-thread processor. I can give that virtual machine up to 6 of those cores, or 6 of those threads rather. So if I go up past, see, I'm still good at 6. If I go to 7, I get invalid settings detected. So I generally just stick with 2. 2 is fine. But if you got something that you really want the performance in, but if you really want good CPU performance, you've probably got a GPU that you may have a GPU that you want to pass through too, and that's well beyond the scope of this video. So I generally just give it 2 and enable the PAE/NX, mainly because if I just use 2, I can have more than one running at one time. I rarely ever do, but it's nice to know that I can. And I've already got the the acceleration and everything is enabled. So display for video memory, I max that out. I enable 3D acceleration, but you cannot enable both 3D and 2D. You'll get invalid settings detected. Actually, if you just have 2D, you'll get invalid settings detected. So just leave 2D alone and you can enable 3D. So storage, right here where you have the disk, it says empty. That's where you put your ISO. So I've already got Arch Labs here, and for audio, the rest of these settings are generally okay. But here in USB, if you did not install the extension pack and you add yourself to the vbox users group, you would be stuck at USB 1.1. And if you clicked on USB 2, you would get that invalid settings detected again. So that's why I wanted to kind of walk you through how to do all that. You can do but with that installed and ready to go, you can have USB 2 or USB 3. I generally just stick with 2. 2 is fine. For what I'm trying to do, it's driverless. It works. So you can set up shared folders and you can customize the user interface. I generally just leave all that stuff alone. I'm used to it. So with all that done, we're ready to go. So now you just click that and hit start. So those are the VirtualBox settings that I generally use for everything, because Debian testing in all of these here, if you go into settings, my Debian testing has 2 processing cores. It's got 4 gigs of RAM. Peppermint has 4 gigs. Well, I gave that one 6 for some reason. I'm not sure why. So, whatever. I'm not sure why I did that. So, Bunsen Labs has 4 gigs of RAM, 2 processing cores. And of course, you just saw Arch Labs, 4 gigs of RAM, 2 processing cores. Generally, that's more than enough to run just really any Linux distribution. If you wanted something really high powered, you can allocate more resources to it, and you can, and there's some other virtualization software out there like QEMU that you can do hardware pass through, but that's well beyond the scope of this video. So, and I've tried it. I'm not very good at it, and plus that has to deal with IOMMU groups, and I'm kind of a novice when it comes to that. If you're interested in stuff like that, check out Level 1 Techs. Wendell has created some wonderful video series on that, and how to set that up in Linux. So hopefully this will give you a good starting point. I've begun rambling and stuttering and stammering and whatever. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one.